Hi, I'm Marisa Inda. Thank you for subscribing to the Juggernaut YouTube channel, and check out our new apparel by clicking the link in the bio.
So in regards to SRA for technical differences between lifters, if you want more in-depth information on this, refer to our Principle of SRA video. But the recommendations we give within that are general. They're for kind of the average squat technique and deadlift technique. So deadlift having the longest SRA curve, then low bar squat, high bar squat, front squat, a sumo deadlift, a shorter SRA than a conventional deadlift. But if someone has to squat in a style, a very bent over style, which utilizes a lot more of their back, that's probably going to have a longer SRA curve than a more upright, still low bar squatter. So there's too many possible variations for me to address in a video, really any type of video. But when you're really fine-tuning SRA for yourself, yes, that needs to be considered as how efficient maybe the technique is for your particular lift. Using things like NSAIDs and hot-cold therapy for recovery needs to be done very strategically. Because the mechanism by which NSAIDs and cold therapy helps promote recovery is an artificial removal of inflammation. It's taking the inflammation away from your body without your body's adaptive process being involved. But because inflammation is such an important adaptation signal to the body, it could actually dampen the training effect by this artificial removal. So the only time you're going to want to use NSAIDs, cold therapy, to help promote recovery is either right before a competition or during a deload week when restoration is the primary goal. And as far as heat therapy goes, if it makes you feel better, that has some benefit. But beyond that, extended use of heat therapy, sauna, hot tub, whatever, is going to make you become dehydrated, and obviously dehydration is the enemy of recovery.
Best variations for squatting to build up the high bar squat. The first two, number one would be belt squats. Belt squats are a great way to take pressure off the low back, take the load off the low back, and focus primarily on the quadriceps. The second exercise I would say is going to be front squat. As long as you can maintain good technique and keep your torso upright. If that's not the case, then a hack squat would also be a great substitute for either of those. In addition to any of those exercises, ankle mobility and the position of your knee is super important. So if you can do anything that allows you to develop a little bit more ankle flexibility to get your knee out over your toe a little better, that's going to play a big part in high bar squatting.
If you're training looking just to maximize strength and force and power, you don't necessarily need to train with a hypertrophy block, and this would be appropriate for someone maybe who has maximized their weight class or is even cutting weight to make a weight class, or someone I guess who just doesn't care about having bigger muscles, is only concerned with being stronger. And if you're only concerned with being stronger, having bigger muscles is worthwhile in the long run to that, but with that caveat built in, you're going to want to keep most of your training in the general strength and peaking type of ranges, so sets of 3 to 6 at 75 to 90%, and then training singles at above 90%. Something that's going to have a high neurological transfer would be high frequency, high intensity, something like a Bulgarian type of squat every day program that will only focus on contractile and neural strength of the system rather than increasing muscular size at all. Competition frequency is going to tend to vary by the athlete's level. If you have someone who's newer in their career, obviously they're not lifting as heavy weights, they're probably also not as experienced a competitor. Competing more frequently, maybe 4, 5, even 6 times a year, could be advisable to learn the skill of competing and how their body responds more to peaking type of training. As the athlete becomes more and more advanced and the loads they're lifting are heavier, it's going to be more stressful, and they're probably going to want to cut down competing to 1 or 2 times a year. So it's going to change. It's a different answer for different people, but yeah, really advanced lifters probably aren't going to do very well with competing 5, 6, 7 times a year in powerlifting, as the weights will just be too heavy and will become too stressful to their muscular systems and skeletal system. When squatting in wraps versus squatting in sleeves, the main difference is going to be what you need to do with your knees. So remember that wraps really only affect the strength of the legs, not the back. So they're going to kind of create, let's say, artificial leg strength. To maximize the amount you get out of reps, you need to very consciously bend at the knees, push your knees into the reps during the descent to create more stretch in the reps, and with that more rebound coming out of the hole. Now, as you come out of the hole, the reps are going to try and push your knees back. So you've heard Max and I talk a lot about knees forward and keeping your knee forward out of the hole. You're going to have to be very much more mindful of that during a wrapped squat, trying to keep your knee forward as long as possible, and then to very forcefully push with your back out of the hole so you can create more equal pressure with your back into the bar as your legs are creating into the floor because of the assistance of the wraps. So start out with a light wrap, practice it with less assistance before you go tighter, tighter, and tighter. In regards to structuring training for combat athletes, BJJ and grappling, it's a really tough question to answer without much context. But the first thing you need to do is understand that sport practice is the only irreplaceable part of an athlete's training. So their general physical preparation training is to reflect what they did in their sport practice that day. And even though they're not working against a barbell, working against the human resistance is going to provide a lot of stimulus for strength. So if there's a very high volume day rolling, then you're probably going to need to back off the weights a little bit. Developing a sufficient level of general strength in exercises like squat, deadlift, bench press, pull-ups is going to be great, as well as introducing special strength exercises which mimic the sporting movements either in velocity, direction, or duration.
With the new Juggernaut online coaching programs, we've had a lot of questions about which program is right for you. So here's a quick synopsis of our 3 different levels of coaching. First, club programming. Club programming is great if you're just looking to add some more structure, some expert design to your strength training for powerlifting or weightlifting, but probably not the best decision if you're looking to compete in one of the other sports or if you have a specific competition date in mind, as it's just more general, continuous programming. Team programming is our favorite option. Team programming gives you programming tailored to your size, strength, gender, experience, and goals, control over the timing of the training relative to your competition, and access to our team of coaches for video review. One-on-one programming is going to be your best bet if you need very personalized attention based on a unique competition schedule, injury history, or if you're just looking to make sure that everything is built as specifically as possible to you. So we have 3 different levels of programming, and one of them is definitely going to be a great fit for you to help you improve in powerlifting or weightlifting.